Hi.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Dungeoneer's Tavern. Can't see how well the last episode did because I don't have enough data or input to make judgment. But
It went
we decided to schedule it for Saturdays because that is more convenient for people. Today
indeed.
I'm here with Dark Crazy, the Sage of Orcus for our
Hello.
server, and once again, Martin Limations. Let's get started, shall we? Today's episode, we will talk about TPKs and how to best execute specific
Perform
types of
them.
TPK. Martin, if you will.
TPKing is a fine art. Many people think that it's as simple as throwing a monster at your party that's just so ridiculously overpowered that it kills them instantly. Like throwing a great worm or an ancient dragon at them. Everything's art. But if you're doing that, you're bad at art. That's not creative at all. That's not a masterpiece. That's not as much of a masterpiece as it is when you throw a Neh-Thalguu at. I'm sorry, this monster's name is hard to pronounce. Neh-Thalguu.
Just say Neh-Thalguu.
Neh-Thalguu. From the new book, Boo's Astral Menagerie. The Neh-Thalguu is a large aberration of CR4. But what makes this creature super deadly and good for TBKs is, first of all, this is not a well-known creature. This isn't like a vampire or something where you could go up it and be like, oh, you put it in the sunlight and then it dies. This isn't even a creature from the main monster manual. This is something from an obscure, recently released, but it's still not like, it's not like Monsters of the Multiverse or whatever. It's not a common creature. They have a 95 health point max, which is pretty big for a CR4 creature. Like, level 4 parties ain't going to be matching that very well. And normally they have a bite attack and 2 claw attacks. Bite does 11 damage, claw does 4 damage. So that's like 19 damage per turn, which isn't bad. But its main strength is that it has an ability called Mind Blast that can incapacitate a creature. And it also has the Mind Flayer's Extract Brain option, because these guys are like brain eaters. And that does 10d6 damage, average of 35, which could usually kill a level 4 creature. But additionally, it can have up to 12 1-per-day spells, like Hold Person, Invisibility, and the strongest one, in my opinion, is Hypnotic Pattern, because that can get the entire party incapacitated. So you see, with one of these things, the party is going to have to burn through its 95 hit point max, which is pretty fucking big for a CR4 creature. Like, Dark Crazy, you know how even my level 4 character couldn't get through that quickly enough to avoid dying to it. You know?
Not a good. Yeah. All right. Continue with your segment.
I know. He was a barbarian. There are other ones like that are probably better at doing that. But anyways, if your party has bad wisdom saves, this creature can really fuck them over. And better yet, the party doesn't know its weaknesses because it's obscure like that. So if you throw this at them, it's CR4. You can throw this at a level 4 party, and it can kill them all if their wisdom saves are bad. You can check their wisdom saves. If their wisdom saves are really good, it might have a bit of a harder time. But typically you can only get like a +7 at max on those, so it's bound to fail eventually, maybe. But anyways, yeah, you throw this at your party, it can kill all of them if their wisdom saves are bad. Like, kill them all. They're all dead. And then you don't have to ruin your friendship. You can just say, guys, it was CR4. I didn't know it would do that. And you'll be fine. And you can still be friends, and then you can make a new party with better characters because you hated the old one. Anyways, second off on my list of creatures that you can use to TPK a party is the Spawn of Kyuss. CR5 undead. They don't have great saving throws, but that ain't stopping them for the fact that they have regeneration for 10 hit points, but it's disabled by Acid, Fire, or Radiant. So it's kind of easier to disable. And also, their main strength is their Burrowing Worm option. They shoot a worm at you, and you gotta succeed on a DC 11 Dex save, which isn't hard. But if it lands, and the worm burrows under your skin until you're targeted by magic that cures diseases, this worm is going to keep burrowing until it reaches your brain and kills you, and then you rise 10 minutes later to the spawn of Kyuss. Many parties do have access to disease curing magic and shit, but if they don't, this thing can wipe you out. Wipe the whole gang out. If they don't, because you could just put a worm into all the party members and they die. And then if your level 20 party is getting annoying, I have another way. Another better way than a CR4 or a CR5 creature who those guys could fuck over easily. The Elder Brain Dragon. Gargantuan Aberration, Lawful Evil, CR22. They have 80-foot fly speed, hover. They got a Dragon's Breath weapon that does 55 psychic damage. Now this is big, because if your party's got like a Bear Totem Barbarian in it, that Barbarian's gonna be like, wow, I resist all damage by psychic damage. And then you can throw the fucking Elder Brain Dragon at them, and it hits for full damage on all its attacks, because it's got a fuck ton of psychic damage. And then, even if they pass their con save against the breath weapon, they become infested with tadpoles, which deal 3d10 psychic damage, average of 16 at the start of each of their turns. Until they're targeted by magic that ends a curse. This means you gotta use a 3rd level spell slot for it. At least. You can't use Lesser Restoration on them. And 3rd level spell slots they're not the biggest thing parties have at that level. But if you fail to prep or move curse or something, you're gonna be pretty fucked over. And if a creature is reduced to 0 while infested by the tadpoles, they're stable and unconscious for 6 to 12 hours, and when that period of unconsciousness ends, the creature is just transformed into a mind flayer. And that can only be undone. I don't think it can be undone. It can only be stopped by casting a wish spell on the unconscious creature. Additionally, they have a thing where they can target a creature they're grappling and fuck over their concentration on a spell. Like if your Hexblade rolls up with Hexblade's Curse and gets grappled, then you can just shatter concentration legendary action their Hexblade's Curse. They also have 80-foot fly speed hover with a range attack like that. I could think you could see why that would be good. Additionally, they got 4 per day legendary resistances. 4 is a big number of legendary resistances, especially since this guy's got con saves plus 14, int saves plus 12, wisdom saves plus 11, charisma saves plus 14, 28 passive perception. No one's sneaking up on this motherfucker. Their dex saves are kind of weak, but that's what legendary resistance is for. And I have another talking point. I was going to discuss the fact that Nico Warlock's turn to rant about his wife, who is now.
I was gonna start this off with Titivilus.
Oh, okay.
Not Zariel yet.
Please just don't quote XP to level 3's video on this person, please.
I very much am.
No, you're doing Zariel now. I'll do Titivilus. Anyways, I'm Titivilus, so you see.
You told me to do Titivilus, all right?
You're fine.
You did.
Okay. Then I will just do my segment with Zariel, because the way Zariel is built is, and I quote, quite broken, and that is an understatement. With their 420 hit points, and the 21 armor class. Well, yes, the AC isn't all too desired. It really doesn't matter with Zariel, because her mobility and her ability to move around the battlefield and even avoid giving the party a chance to even hit her is pretty astounding. Her base walking speed is 50 feet, but when you have a flying speed that is faster, when are you really going to use that? Her flying speed is 150 feet, with one of the legendary actions being her teleportation ability, which she teleports up to 120 feet in an unoccupied space that she can see. Horrid Touch is frickin' busted. Well, so with Horrid Touch, you make a DC 26 Constitution saving throw, or take 8d10 necrotic and be poisoned. While poisoned in that way, you are also blinded and deafened. So a really bad thing for spellcasters to have, to be blinded and deafened. And even if you repeat this saving throw at the end of each of your turns, and you end the effect on a success, per usual. But you are not immune to the effect for another 24 hours, like with most abilities that are similar. So she can just as easily, because this lasts for 1 minute, and if it goes away because of the 1 minute duration, she most likely has that prepared already with a recharge of 5 or 6. So she can just use that again, and yeah, your wizard is still useless, and after taking whatever amount of damage, I think that would be 16d10 at that point, your wizard is most likely already a pile of ash.
And that's part of her multi-attack too, so she can make 2 long sword attacks as well as a horrid touch, you know.
Yeah. Wizards be very afraid. Utility caster, try a magical ultimate frickin' train. Also, another thing she can do is her spell casting. There is Ultra Self, but that's for a different purpose. We're talking about TPK, not emotional damaging the party. One of her at-will abilities with her spell casting is Fireball and Wall of Fire. If a wizard's dream is to cast Fireball as many times as they can, well, Zariel can cast it at will. So wizards, just go cry in the corner, please. Yeah. Anyway, so with that, one thing that you can use Zariel for is she flies up into the air, probably 150 feet, and if some of the creatures have a flying speed, you can just as easily use her legendary action to teleport even further away, further making the party angry. And a simple tactic would be to just launch fireballs down at them. Another thing you can also do if you want to get a little bit more, but a little bit more risky, kinda, is have her down there, right? Use all of her multi-attack actions with her Horrid Touch, Longsword, and Flail, and then at the end of whatever next creature's turn, they use her Teleport, which is, like I said, 120 feet and an unoccupied space. You can just go straight up. Another thing, I know so many things with this. There is regeneration, which is only negated by radiant damage, and Zariel dies if she is at 0 hit points and cannot regenerate. Regenerates 20 points at the start of her turn, and while yes, radiant damage is what negates it, it is also something that she is immune to, followed by cold damage and fire damage.
Resists.
She resists it. That means she takes half, so it's actually possible to kill her.
Yep. It's resisted.
Yeah, it's resist.
Also, her lowest stat is a 24.
Yeah, pretty busted, and that is dexterity.
Yeah.
She is also immune to necrotic and poison damage, so, necromancers, another type of wizard, get out the way.
Yeah, those damage types just aren't very viable in this game. But cold, fire, and radiant, those are pretty fucking common. Like Meteor Swarm does fire damage. That's a spell they're probably going to want to use on her.
Yeah.
And bludgeoning. But, yes.
And then she has one of her things being Finger of Death, which it is a 3 times a day for each whatever spell, which includes Blade Barrier and Dispel Evil and Good, but Finger of Death is something up there, and I just think that can be utilized very well, especially if, like, let's say their barbarian is very low on health. Use Finger of Death, and if they don't, like, deal with that, it will rise as a zombie later.
Save DC 26.
Yeah.
It's to the point at higher levels where if you don't have proficiency in the saving throw they're throwing at you, you're probably not going to beat that save.
Or if you're a paladin, you know?
I mean, monks also have that diamond soul ability where I
Level
failed the saving throw,
True.
spend a key point, just roll it again.
All right, hear me out. Level 6 paladin, level 14 monk. Proficiency in all saves, plus your charisma modifier to all saves, plus 11 to all
Martin,
saves.
this isn't a character building video.
You're right. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that because that's a really fucking stupid idea I had a while ago.
And also, another thing to mention is she has 3 legendary resistances, so even if you do throw some things with saving throws at her, she has some of that. She has some of those ready and prepared. Of course, she has the typical devil sight. Nothing too important, but can be utilized if your party is small-brained and hasn't already gotten devil sight.
But it also should be noted that her lack
Have
of
you
true
mentioned the
sight,
magic?
her lack of true sight means that illusion
That
wizard
is true.
might be pretty effective against her. If your party doesn't
True.
have an illusionist wizard or anyone who specializes in illusions like hypnotic pattern and shit, then you could totally send Zariel up at them and steamroll their asses. But her lack of true sight
Mhm.
can be a weakness, and that's something you want to keep in
Something I
mind.
want to add. Something I want to add about her defensive capabilities on top of legendary resistances. She has saving throw proficiency in all of her mental stats, and she has
So-
magic resistance.
That's true. Those are
So the minimum bonus she has to any saving throw is +7, and if it's magical, she has advantage, meaning you're probably not going to be able to hit her with any hold monsters.
never mind. Send her at those illusionist wizards. She ain't gonna be feeling any of their spell saves with that +16 whiz saves.
Intelligence, wisdom, and charisma was an 18.
Yeah, but charisma's just used for banishment, and I don't think she's ever gonna want to leave hell, unless you want to bring her out of hell
Unless
to kill
you
your
fight
players.
Graz'zt.
Also, this has reminded me of my other talking point. I wanted to talk about how to use demon lords against your parties, because demon lords
Martin.
I know what we talked about. I listened to you, okay? So anyway, I was gonna talk about how every demon lord has a different purpose. Like, if you want to kill your party, you might be debating, do I use Demogorgon? Or do I use Graz'zt? Or maybe Yeenoghu.
Graz'zt.
Yeenoghu is not great for killing high-level parties. He's kind of basic. He's good for... One of the things that I do like Yeenoghu for is, though, he's a really good way to show a low-level party why they shouldn't fuck with the Abyss. Like, he's got the charge legendary action, so he can gain distance on them really easily. He's got his 50-foot move speed, so you can just have him run in, like, fucking shred them to bits with his flail and his stuff to just really show them, like, the savagery of that plane. How it's something you don't want to fuck with. How it's like, it's a den of chaos and evil. And the Lord of Savagery is a really, really good way of showing your party the true horrors of that plane, and that's why I like him. But at high levels, he kind of falls off usefulness-wise. Now, for some demon lords who actually are useful, I want to start with Baphomet. Baphomet's main strength, his main strength, in my opinion, is the maze spell. The maze spell is a really great way to, like, split up duos. If you have, like, a wizard and a barbarian who comes in together, he can cast maze on the barbarian to trap them for a while he beats the fucking shit out of the wizard. And then if the barbarian comes back, he can fight the barbarian. And because Heart Cleaver does force damage, he's going to be doing some pretty good damage. And his charge legendary action can help him get advantage by knocking the enemies prone. And, well, if all goes badly, then he can just teleport away with his teleport and long rest, and then kill the barbarian with all of his resources back after the wizard, you know.
Yeah, even, like, let's say you are a DM who even, like, because lore-wise, Baphomet doesn't prefer using Heart Cleaver. Let's say you are a DM who wants to just use Bite and Gore. Even those can provide some pretty good ways to deal some damage.
They are not as great. They do piercing and slashing as opposed to Heart Cleaver doing force, which is much, much better. Now, anyways,
But yeah,
second on our list, we have Demogorgon. Demogorgon has taken a baseball bat from previous editions. Like, he used to be a TPK machine, but he's still good at dealing with certain party comps. First of all, his armor class is 22. His passive perception is 29. His hit point max is 464. And so he's really, really good at like taking care of parties who are fans of like burst builds. Like, the Gloomstalker Ranger Assassin Rogue tries to sneak up on him, but they fail because his passive perception is fucking 29, which is massive for that level. And they shoot all their shots, but a bunch of them bounce off his 22 armor class, and then he can turn towards them, use his gaze to stun them, and they gotta make a DC 23 wisdom save, and beat the fucking shit out of them where they're stunned. If you have a paladin who thinks they can beat all of Demogorgon's saves because they're too strong and their charisma bonus to AC is like a plus 30, not a plus 30, usually a plus 5 at that level. Their plus 5 to spell saves is gonna beat them up. Feeble mind their asses. Their intelligence and charisma will become 1, meaning that their plus bonus to saves will be a plus 1. And then you can beat the fucking shit out of their party with all his save or stuck abilities, like the fear and his gaze. Mainly it's fear and gaze are his real save or stuck abilities. But also his saving throws are all fucking awesome. And he doesn't even need magic resistance. Like, you got a monk who walks up to him, haha, I'm gonna beat you because you're a demon and your magic resistance, my stunning strike bypasses that. His 2 heads feature means he has advantage on blinded, deafened, stunned, or knocked unconscious saves. And he's already immune to charmed, exhaustion, frightened, and poisoned. So he's really good at taking care of parties with like burst attacks, and paladins, and rogues, and monks.
He's just good at taking care of parties.
He's good at taking care of people who play the strong classes. Second, we have Fraz Urb'luu. Now, Fraz Urb'luu, he's got some good damage, but his main strength is just his fly speed. If an Aarakocra comes in and thinks they can cheese the entire abyss with their longbow and their I'm gonna shoot you from afar and you can't do anything, Fraz Urb'luu is just gonna be like, oh really, bitch, and then fly up there and kick their asses. And that's his main use, to be honest. Other than beating any party with bad int saves, because his illusion shit is good. Next we have Graz'zt. Graz'zt can really fuck you over if your wisdom saves are bad. Dominate monster, dominate person, 3 per day. 3 per day teleports, greater invisibility. His mobility is second only to Zariel, really. Because he's got 40-foot move speed, but 3 per day teleport, 120 feet. He's also got counterspell. This is good. One of Graz'zt's main uses, I feel, is like getting rid of casters.
Martin.
What?
Martin.
Yeah?
You're wrong. He doesn't have counterspell. He has negate spell, which
Negate,
is better
Negate
because
spell is
it's
better.
not a spell, so you can't counterspell it.
You're right. That makes him even better. You're right. But anyways, he's good at taking care of casters who think they can like get him with Wall of Force. Like, if your caster's like, ha, I'm gonna Wall of Force you, Graz'zt. Graz'zt will teleport inside of their Wall of Force, bust out Wave of Sorrow, and be like, oh, you sure about that, bitch? And if there's an entire party there, he can make up to 5 Wave of Sorrow attacks. Only 2 on his turn. But with legendary actions, he can make up to 5. He can use greater invisibility to gain advantage on those attacks. And they deal about 34 damage per hit. He's doing that 5 times.
Greater
Greater
invisibility is the biggest thing.
Yeah, greater invisibility is strong, very strong. Additionally, dominate monster. You can just give him a pet Tarrasque and say he has dominate monstered it. But then again, the Tarrasque is weak, and the parties of that level will be taking care of it like it's nothing. Second on our list.
Also, sorry.
What was that? I know which one.
I was about to say. Graz'zt, you said Graz'zt had a 3-day teleport. No, it's an infinite teleport. He can teleport as many times in legendary actions.
He has 3 per day teleport spell. He has infinite
spell.
Teleport spell, but he has also has the teleport action.
Yeah, he does. And anyways, next we have Juiblex. Juiblex, I feel, is just designed to Juiblex is designed to take down fighters. He's got his regen, which is only disabled by fire or radiant. He's got his ability to corrupt them and slime them, force them to be poisoned, force them to make all their attacks with a disadvantage. Now, fighters make a lot of attacks, but if they're all made with disadvantage, then that's not going to be very good. He's also got his eject slime thing, where he can force you to make a DC 21 dex save or take 55 acid damage. But the biggest part is, any metal weapon or armor that you're carrying takes a permanent -1 penalty to damage your AC. This is great for killing your fighter character. Your fighter who thinks you can solo the entire abyss, just send Juiblex at him and be like, oh yeah, disable this motherfucker's regen, bitch. And
Just try the language now. Just
disable this boy's regen, lameo.
Alright.
But anyways,
I'd like to...
Oh, also,
Yeah.
I'd like to point out that he resists fire. His regen is disabled by fire.
Mm.
He resists fire. So that's good.
I'd like to make a quick interjection.
yes.
The thing about the text in Eject Slime talking about -1 penalties to attacks and armor class says nothing about this doesn't work on magical armor. So if they have a Vorpal sword,
Precisely.
it's going to start taking penalties until it gets destroyed. This can technically destroy magical artifacts.
Precisely.
Not to mention, let's say, like adamantine, which is a pretty valuable metal throughout most D&D worlds and such. Which, as I've already said, it's a metal, so that is also subject to this eject slime ability.
Yeah, indeed. That's why it's strong. Anyways, as for the next one on our list, unfortunately, one demon lord has just been removed from existence. So, anyways, we're going to be talking about Yeenoghu next. But I already talked about Yeenoghu. He's really good for showing low-level parties why they shouldn't fuck with the abyss and doing it lethally. He's also really good for taking down like ranged characters. That ranged rogue who thinks they can solo the entire abyss. I have my longbow, my magic longbow, and you can just be like, Yeenoghu dashes. He then uses his charge legendary action to gain 200 feet on you. And then you can you can be like, actually, you don't see anything. Because Yeenoghu has invisibility. He can become invisible. He can teleport behind them and beat the shit out of them with his flail. And then they're dead. He's just good for showing people why they shouldn't mess with the abyss. Showing low-level parties that they can't cheese demon lords. They're going to try anyways. But you can show them with Yeenoghu. Try to get it in their heads that they can't. Anyway.
Like you?
Zuggtmoy. Zuggtmoy is good if your party dumps con.
I do feel like that's it. There are good abilities, but I feel like that's just the main thing.
Zuggtmoy is probably the worst demon lord, just because of their focus on poison damage and poison damage and con saves.
She's so cool, but she's so
Please stop.
cool.
Please stop the simps. Please stop the simping.
I'm not simping. I think she's cool. And I would run her as a BBG of my game, even if she wasn't my waifu.
The concept of her as a demon lord, the concept is cool, but the stats don't show the true potential that Zuggtmoy could possibly have.
But also,
True.
If you want to get your party really messed up by infestation spores, how you run this is you infest them all with infestation spores, and then you cast Etherealness. And then Zuggtmoy has thralls with her at all times. So you can have Zuggtmoy in the ethereal plane, using her legendary actions to command her allies to attack the party. And they can't get her. They can't stop her. She can turn the party against each other with mind control spores or something, and use her legendary actions to exert will on them from the ethereal plane. And they can't touch her. And I'm not sure if I think that works. I'm pretty sure that works.
Does that complete your segment on demon lords?
Oh yeah, I also gotta give an honorable mention to the Molydeus, which has the ability to chop your party's heads off with a nat 20. Polymorph, telekinesis, teleport, and what was the other one? What was the one? I need one moment. I'm sorry. Technical difficulties. This is just lag in the video. Dispel magic is the other one. Creeper Day Lightning Bolt, which isn't great, but the Molydeus can chop your party's head off with its 20. It has it can do that 4 times per turn with legendary actions. If your barbarian reckless attacks the Molydeus, and the rest of the party's there, you can just have the Molydeus make 4 attacks against it with advantage. And if any of them are 20, the barbarian is just dead. They could have 400 HP and just die, be killed instantly. And so that's just an honorable mention to conclude our section about demon lords.
All right, Dark Crazy, Sage of Orcus, you may begin.
Bye-bye. Alright, I'm going to leave Orcus to last because that's probably going to be my longest segment. So I'm going to start off with a specific creature. In the Domains of Dread, you will find an organization called the Priests of Osybus, and They are not. They actually about mid-levels and even somewhat later can be huge threats if you want them to be. While they're on the weaker side because of low natural armor and hit points, the Tattoo of Osybus trait basically lets them keep coming back as long as you roll well. Gaining more traits the entire time, if you don't know how to deactivate this trait, then it's going to be very hard to deal with these things. Alright, they have two attack options. They don't actually have spell casting unless granted to them by a trait given to them by the Tattoo of Osybus. So they only have two attacks. Their first attack is Soul Blade, which it only has a +5 to hit and deals only 2d4 plus 2 piercing. However, the target is paralyzed as long as a creature and you hit it. There's no saving throw tied to it. They are just paralyzed. And the paralyzed condition is probably the worst condition you can inflict in the game.
Except unconscious. But yes, I agree.
Actually no, because if you hit a creature, it depends. Most ways of getting unconscious via spells, if you hit a creature, it wakes up. But, I digress.
But yeah, continue.
Additionally, if the Soul Blade reduces a medium or smaller creature to 0 hit points, it will die, and it will be trapped as a shadowy tattoo, which can be used by its bonus action, which I will describe in a second. Its other attack, it's an attack called Necrotic Bolt, +7 to hit. It deals 3d8 +4 necrotic, and it deactivates it prevents the target from being able to regain HP, which if they're all on hit points, that can be a big problem. One of the real reasons they can easily TPK a party is their Soul Tattoo ability, which will let them summon a shadow. Shadows are not very strong creatures, only +4 to hit with very little HP. However, their attack subtracts 1d4 from a target's strength score. So you could use this on casters and you can kill them quickly. If you combine this in tandem with Soul Blade, so paralyzing them so that the attack is a higher chance of hitting, it can just spiral quickly out of control.
I would like to share a story personally from our experience with the priest. Oh, could I? Do you mind if I, or should I?
Sure, go for it quickly.
So, you see, once in our game where Dark Crazy was the DM, and we fought a priest of Osybus, our party had no clue. I had a clue, but I didn't want to metagame. Our party had no clue that they would come back when they died. And the priest of Osybus came back, and it rolled a 6 on its boom, which meant that it got the spell Circle of Death. And it used that on the party and nearly wiped us all out, because we all had to make a DC 15 con save or take 8d8 necrotic damage, and he rolled pretty well on the damage. Most of the party was not that beefy. We were level 6. We should have been able to take it without any difficulty. Wait, we weren't level 6. We were level 5. But there were still 4 of us, so we should have been able to take it without any much difficulty. But when it used Circle of Death, the entire party, except for 2 of us, got down. And my character was an Asmar, so I resisted necrotic damage. But still, that thing hit hard. It hit the entire party. And the thing is, that you never know what boon you're going to get with these guys. But then again, you should talk more about this. I'm sorry. I didn't want to interrupt. I did want to interrupt. I just wanted to hear it.
It's fine. Quick note about that. They don't gain the Circle of Death spell. It's converted to an action for them, so it has a recharge.
Yeah, recharge 5/6.
Alright. Now another good mid-level, a bit later in the mid-levels for TPking a party is the Howler. These are demons, and again, they're not particularly beefy. They only have 90 HP and a 16 AC. Fiends. Apologies.
Yeah, sorry.
They have, first of all, they have multiple damage resistances. They resist cold, fire, lightning, and non-magical damage, and they're also immune to the frightened condition, which is a very good mid-level debuff most parties can inflict, such as the fear spell, which is a very good option at that level. They also have the Pack Tactics trait, which, if you don't know, is a very good trait, meaning you're probably going to fight at least 2 of these things.
Mm-hmm.
They have 2 options for actions. One is Mind-Breaking Howl, which means each creature of its choice in a 60-foot cone. Each creature in a 60-foot cone is going to have to succeed on a Wisdom save, or it's going to take 3d10 psychic damage and be frightened. Important note: the saving throw is low. It's only 13, yeah. But while it's frightened, its speed is also halved and it is incapacitated. So that's pretty devastating. And then it's Bite Attack, Rending Bite. Can make 2 of these through the multi-attack action, and it's a +6 to hit, reach 5 feet. It deals 2d6 plus 3 piercing damage normally, which isn't that much, but if it's frightened, such as through the Mind-Breaking Howl, it deals an extra 4d10 psychic damage. That is a lot of extra damage. And in subtext under it, this entire attack ignores damage resistance. So if you're a Barbarian, or you're an Emerald Dragonborn, or if you went for the Emerald Dragonborn Barbarian build, this is just going to bypass all of that. It does not care. You're taking full damage. And it's a lot of damage.
I personally just want to say I love these creatures. I think they're so cool, and I think Pandemonium is so cool, and I don't think people use them enough, and I like them.
Alright. Now to the final monster I think I'm going to talk about. It's in my title. It should be obvious. I'm going to talk about Orcus. I told Martin I get to cover what I am an expert on, so let me cover Orcus.
Alright, we're almost at 40 minutes,
Orcus,
though, by the way.
I know. Orcus is the strongest demon lord. Don't you start talking, Martin. We've tested this.
I wasn't saying anything.
I know. You're going to.
I wasn't going to say anything.
All right. Well, Orcus has probably has a lower AC than things like Demogorgon. It's still, there's a good reason it's CR 26. First of all, he has 405 HP and a 40-foot movement and fly speed, which, granted, compared to Zariel's 150-foot fly speed and 50-foot normal movement speed, it doesn't seem as good. However, with solid stats across the board, and the one not so good stat it has proficiency in it, it has resistance to all elemental damage except acid, with immunity to poison, as well as immunity to necrotic and non-magical damage. And it's pretty hard. It's going to be hard to find some good damage types to hit through this, except, of course,
all of
magical polearms. Immunity to the 4 typical conditions you're used to. True Sight 120 feet. That's True Sight is basically dark vision, but you can also see invisible creatures and into the ethereal plane, as well as through illusions. It's one of the best sight options in the game.
It's the best.
Legendary resistance, magic resistance we've talked about, like with Zariel. But Orcus has 2 unique traits. Master of Undeath means they can cast Animate Dead at will and create undead 3 times a day. He gets to choose the level the spells it's cast at, so both of these you can cast at 9th level every time. And they remain under his control indefinitely. And control undead, create undead doesn't have to be cast at night. So yeah, if you just give him enough corpses or bones and enough time, he can literally just create an army. Pretty good plot point for a campaign if you want to use it. The last trait's an interesting one, but they kind of have to include it. Special equipment is Orcus wields the Wand of Orcus. I'm not going to go into details, but basically it is a +3 weapon that has a lot of different properties. It's +3. It's magical bludgeoning. It deals an extra 2d10 necrotic. It gives you extra spells you can cast, and once per day you can conjure a number of undead creatures whose total HP max doesn't exceed 500 HP. Now, this is definitely his strongest ability. You can basically pick whichever undead you think are going to be best to take out the party with. My personal favorite is summoning 4 Skull Lords, which, combined with something I'll talk about in a bit, they can hit for 1,500 damage in a round. That is a lot of damage. Nothing else can come close to that,
Yo,
really.
can I point something out real quick?
Martin.
I want to say something about my favorite summon for this.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you see, the thing specifically mentions the average combined HP max of them. But there's something funny about the Demi-Lich. They have an average of 80 HP, but there's also something in the monster manual that mentions so great is the Demi-Lich's will to survive that it always has the max number of HP for its hit dice. So you as a DM, this is a bit cheesy to do, but you can summon 6 of them, and then you can say, because their average is 80, but you could say that they all have 128 HP because so great is their will to survive, and you've legally summoned like 600 plus HP worth of undead, but legally you can do that. It's a bit bendy, really.
Yeah, it is true, but yes, the text does say that, indeed. It's also for if you like rolling HP for your for monsters that you summon, then that's why they said average. Now, Skull Lords are my favorite summon, but a few other notable summons are summoning Draconic Shards, Ghost Dragons, Alhoons, Nightwalkers. There's a ton of powerful undead, and he can
Priest
just
of
summon
Osybus.
them to help him in the
Priest
fight.
of Osybus. They can be undead.
That is true. Priests of Osybus are typically humanoid unless their Tattoo of Osybus trait activates, upon which they become undead. So you can technically summon Priest of Osybus. I actually did that once. I summoned Flame Skull Priest of Osybus.
That was funny.
Anyways. That's basically what Conjure Undead does. It's an amazing ability. It's great for... It's very helpful if you want to take out your party efficiently. Now, for attacks, he has multiple action options, actually. But for multi-attack, he can make 3 Wand of Orcus, Tail, or Necrotic Bolt attacks. At first, Wand of Orcus definitely seems like the strongest option, dealing 24 average bludgeoning damage and an average of 13 necrotic. However, in a way, I'll explain it when I get to it, but Necrotic Bolt actually will be the hardest hitting if you could pull specific strategy off. It deals 29 necrotic damage, and the tail probably comes in last at about 30. Already, a combined of 21 force damage and 9 poison damage. Now for spellcasting, Orcus does not have as many spells as a lot of other casters, which is kind of disappointing. He has at-will detect magic, and gets a spell he can cast 3 times a day and a spell he can cast 1 time a day. 3 times a day he can cast Dispel Magic. You don't like that Wall of Force that got put up, you can dispel it. If you don't want that Warlock to have that 5th level Spirit Shroud up, you can dispel it. It will require a check, but it will require a check for most higher level spells, but he has a +7 to Charisma, so it shouldn't be too hard.
Most Demon Lords have Dispel Magic and Detect Magic.
I was mentioning how it was good.
It is good.
No.
It's one of the reasons why the other ones that I mentioned earlier are good at.
Finally, he has a single 9th level spell he can cast 1 a day. Interesting note, he's the only Demon Lord who has a 9th level spell he can cast once a day. Demogorgon's Feeble Mind's on the 8th level.
But also...
And his is Time Stop.
That's...
Pardon.
Alright.
His is Time Stop, which... It doesn't seem too good at first. Yeah, it can be used for running away, but... My personal favorite use is if you can use it to stop time, get Orcus into the position you want, and summon undead. They won't get to act in the time stop because they're outside of it, but it doesn't count as interacting with a creature because you are creating them. Interesting note. At least that's how I rule it. Other DMs may rule it differently, but I think if you're creating a creature, you're not technically interacting with a creature that existed outside the time stop. So use it, summon those undead, and then get back in the fray. And the Wand of Orcus actually gives him spells you can cast. It has 7 charges. Its spell save DC is 18, which is lower than his normal spell save DC of 23. It has 7 charges. At will, it can cast Animate Dead as an action. he can already do it. It's just clarifying that, because that's what the magic item can do. It also can do Blight and Speak with Dead. This is all as an act. This is all just the at-will spells. And then, for one charge per spell, he can cast Circle of Death or Finger of Death. We talked about Finger of Death a bit, and Circle of Death, large area of effect. It deals 8d8 necrotic. And killing creatures with either of them is going to create zombies. I'm pretty sure Circle of Death creates zombies when you kill creatures with it.
I don't think.
And then for 2, I don't know. I was just saying I'm not completely sure.
Zombies ain't gonna do much to a party at that level, anyways.
Gotcha. And well, technically, actually, you can use the zombies to body block players, and if they don't have like flight options or teleportation, you could just body block them and force them to waste actions to get through them.
Good point.
And for 2 charges, he can cast Power Word Kill. Meaning, if you only want to use charges for this, you can cast 4 9th level spells a day. I'm going to get to where he can do more. That's just in a second. Orcus has less legendary actions than certain monsters, but they're not slackers. He has the attack legendary action, which is only one legendary action. It doesn't let him use the wand for it, so it has to be the tail or necrotic bolt, but for the strategy I'm about to outline to you, this will be fine. His second legendary action is Creeping Death, which is Orcus. I'll just read the text. Orcus chooses a point on the ground they can see within 100 feet of him. A cylinder of swirling necrotic energy 60 feet tall and with a 10-foot radius rises from that point and lasts until the end of Orcus' next turn. Creatures in that area have vulnerability to necrotic damage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is why I said Necrotic Bolt's probably his strongest attack. If you can position this before Orcus' turn, he can hit for about 58 Necrotic Bolt attack. He could deal average 177 if he's targeting creatures inside the cone. Inside the cylinder.
You're forgetting something. You see, he also has another legendary action attack, so he can make 4 necrotic bolt attacks. That means he's got over 200.
That is true. It means over 200, which is it's about 238 or more. I was just saying, it also stops at the end of his turn, and you probably want to do it basically the turn before him, because the other people, if they go before, they're probably just going to start skittering out of it as fast as possible, unless I will land something about how that helps. Interesting note, a lot of people don't know about doing math. 10-foot radius means it's a 20-foot cylinder, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to cover about a similar size to some AoE spells. It's going to stay there, and because it goes 60 feet up, if someone's flying at radius, they're still affected. This is enough damage to take out literally most casters at that level, and a lot of marshals are not going to be able to hold up to the onslaught. As I detailed, bring out the Skull Lords, have them start necrotic bolting and Orcus, and you can basically wipe out a party pretty quickly.
And then there's the Demi-Lich Whale.
And then there's the Demi-Lich Whale. That's another way. Now, I'm also going to go over... Indeed, Conjure Undead is a very versatile strategy. I'm going to, if you don't mind, I'm going to go over his lair actions quickly, because they're...
Yeah.
Pretty
so could I do that? He has Power Word Kill in his own. That's strong. He's got restraining his targets. That gives him advantage. That's strong. But we're betting. This video is getting a bit long. We're almost at 50 minutes.
I'm gonna keep it short, Martin.
All right.
All right. If you don't know how lair actions work, go read the monster manual. I'm not explaining. Basically, initiative count 20. He takes one of these actions. The first one is he can just cast Power Word Kill. That's insane. That basically means anyone in your party has even less HP than you should. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
He also can cause a creature in a 20-foot area, so the same size, interestingly, the same size as Creeping Death, and they have to succeed on a DC 23 strength save, or they're going to be restrained, meaning if you do want to get more necrotic bolt attacks off, do this, Creeping Death those creatures, and then just start blasting away as they are restrained. It lasts until the next initiative count 20. And then finally, he can cause 6 corpses in his lair to rise up as skeletons, zombies, or ghouls. While those aren't good, they're basically just use them for body blocking and pin them in places.
Alright.
So yeah, Orcus is an incredibly strong monster. If you want an easy way to TPK a party, he's probably one of your best bets.
Alright. Now that the video is getting close to the end, I think I want to give out some honorable mentions. Just by mentioning the monster names. Demilich. Star Spawn Emissary. That one's fun. That one's 2 creatures in 1 with a total of 7 legendary resistances. So that's cool. That's balanced. That's very balanced. And what else was I gonna mention? Oh, and the Tarrasque is totally a great way to make your party feel really, really good about cheesing a CR30 creature. Don't use that for TPK. That's fucking stupid. It's useless. It's so useless. Marezi Demon. Charisma reduction score. Rising up all of your minions, you know. Standard shit. The
The
Devourer.
Baphomet strategy we discussed earlier.
The
Lower the
Devourer
party's
demon.
expectations.
That one's good. That one can wipe out an entire party easy. That's the one that I suggested to you for TPKing our party if we get too annoying. Dibriex. They're not as good as some of the other ones on the split list, but their feeble mind can be pretty devastating. You know, just like Demogorgon. Bodak, yes. Catobleepus, Death Ray. Death Ray is fun.
Also the Stunning Tail.
Yeah, the Stunning Tail. Stunning Tail and Death Ray, both really, really strong. What other honorable mentions do we want to make?
That should be good. Again, we're on time.
Yeah.
Mind Flayers, Vampiric Mind Flayers, and yeah, these are the monsters that you can use to perfect the fine art of wiping out an entire party. If your party gets dumb, don't just throw at them a Nightwalker or a Tarrasque. You need to be an artist. TPKing is an art. Don't disgrace that art by doing something stupid like throwing, ooh, this is a Great Worm with 4 billion damage. Don't do that. Throw a Shadow Great Worm at them while they're in the middle of a town full of people, and have the Great Worm use its breath weapon and animate every single person in a 300-foot cone as shadows, and then they all attack the party and strength drain the fuck out of them. That is art. That is not like, ooh, you all instantly die. TPKing is an art. And if you want, you can be an artist. You could be an artist, and with this video, we will help you to make art instead of being some loser who throws 1 trillion damage at your party. You don't want to be that guy. You want to make your party feel like they could have won, so that they keep having you as their DM. Anyway.
Or don't, and because you're tired of being the forever DM.
Yeah,
Just bring out if you're tired of being the forever DM, just throw Orcus at them.
Or Tiamat.
Or
Tiamat.
Or Demogorgon and Orcus and Graz'zt and Juiblex and Yeenoghu and Zuggtmoy. And then just say, you were level 20, you should have been able to take it, not my fault.
Alright. With that all being said, I will leave this as the final message. Yes, TPK is fun. It is a very beautiful art, but always make sure there is that mutual understanding between you and your party. For example, if you did the TPK for the to get out of being the forever DM, the better option would have been to communicate those feelings with your party. Communication is key. That's where I will leave that off at. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching the video. Remember to hit like, subscribe, hit that little notification bell. We'll see you all in the next video. Peace out. Say your goodbyes.
And remember to always make beautiful art. See ya.